America, 2016. Arizona State. Inside the Red Stone Penitentiary, a maximum security prison where fear runs deeper than time itself. Here, the walls don't just hold men, they listen. His name was Ethan Cole, 31 years old, convicted of illegal weapon possession and armed robbery, 8 years behind bars. He wasn't born a criminal, just a man who made one bad choice and paid the ultimate price. The steel door slammed shut behind him. Clang! That sound wasn't just metal on metal. It was freedom locking itself away. As Ethan walked down the narrow corridor, dozens of eyes followed him. Hard eyes, cold eyes, men who had lost everything except their instincts. Every stare seemed to say, "Fresh meat." They placed him in Block 5, one of Red Stone's toughest wings. That's where he met King, a tall, broad man with tattoos coiling up his neck and eyes that could cut through stone. King wasn't just another inmate, he ruled the block. His word was law, and anyone who challenged that law disappeared. Ethan's cellmate was Mikey, a thin, sharp-faced man who'd been inside long enough to know every secret worth knowing. On that first night, while the lights flickered and the guards' boots echoed down the hall, Mikey leaned in close and whispered, "3 rules, rookie. 1. Keep your mouth shut. 2. Don't ask questions. 3. Red Stone never forgets." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The air felt heavy. The noises, footsteps, distant shouts, someone crying quietly in the dark, all blended into one thought. This place is alive, and it's watching. Days turned into weeks. Ethan learned who to talk to, who to nod at, and who to never make eye contact with. But just when things started to feel predictable, everything changed. One night, the sirens screamed, red lights flashed, guards shouted, metal doors slammed, lockdown. By morning, the rumor had spread. A man was dead, beaten beyond recognition. Nobody saw anything, nobody heard anything, and nobody dared to speak. But deep down, Ethan knew someone in Block 5 was lying, and in a place where silence means survival, searching for the truth could mean death. The morning after the murder, Red Stone was different, quieter, colder. Ethan woke up to the sound of whispers, not from his cell, but from the hallway. Every man in Block 5 was talking in code. Short words, low voices, careful glances. And every time the guards walked past, that silence came crashing down again. During breakfast, Mikey leaned over his tray and murmured, "Word is, the dead man was part of King's crew." Ethan froze. He knew what that meant. Someone had crossed the line. And in Red Stone, crossing King wasn't a mistake. It was a death sentence. The victim's name was Reggie Shaw, mid-30s, lifer, and one of King's right-hand men. The kind of guy you didn't just kill without permission. So the real question wasn't who did it, it was who allowed it. That night, when the lights went out, Ethan started to hear something. From across the block, faint tapping, rhythmic, intentional, like a message hidden behind the walls. He whispered to Mikey, "You hear that?" Mikey's voice trembled. "Yeah, don't answer it." But Ethan couldn't let it go.
He pressed his ear to the wall. The cold concrete hummed like a living thing. And from the other side, a voice, muffled but clear enough to make his heart stop. They got the wrong man. The next morning, guards stormed through Block 5. Search time. Cells flipped, mattresses ripped apart. Ethan watched as they dragged a man out, face bloodied, hands cuffed. Mikey whispered, "That's Darren. They're saying he killed Reggie." But something didn't sit right. Ethan had seen Darren the night of the murder, 2 blocks over, working kitchen duty. There was no way he could have been in 2 places at once. So why pin it on him? Mikey warned him again. "Listen, man, the walls here got ears. Don't start playing detective. People disappear for less." But Ethan wasn't like the others. Something inside him, maybe guilt, maybe curiosity, wouldn't let go. He decided he had to know what really happened that night, even if it meant crossing the one man you never cross. King.
Days passed after Darren's arrest. The prison seemed calm again, but it wasn't peace. It was the kind of silence that hides something sharp underneath. Ethan noticed things. Guards whispering, inmates moving in strange patterns. Even Mikey, usually calm, kept glancing over his shoulder. That afternoon, the block doors clanked open. King walked in. Every man stood still. You could feel his presence before you saw him, that low voice, that heavy stare. He was smiling, but it wasn't friendly. He walked straight to Ethan's table. "You new here, Cole," he said, "but I've been watching. You don't talk much. You listen. I like that." Ethan didn't move. He knew what this meant. King was testing him. One wrong word, one wrong look, and you're done. "I don't want trouble," Ethan said quietly. King leaned closer. "Nobody does. But in this place, trouble finds you or you serve it." Then King slid something across the table, a folded piece of paper. "Tonight, laundry room, midnight, be there." Mikey's eyes widened when he saw the note. "You can't go, man. You don't say no to King, but you don't say yes either. That's how you disappear." Ethan hesitated, but his curiosity burned stronger than fear. If King was connected to Reggie's murder, this was his chance to find out. Midnight. The laundry room smelled of bleach and rust. Machines hummed in the dark. Ethan waited. Then the door creaked open. King stepped in with 2 of his men. "You're here. Good. That means you're smart." He tossed a bundle of sheets on the table, and something heavy inside dropped out. A knife. "We got a rat in Block 6, King said slowly. "He's been talking to the guards. You want to stay alive here, Cole? Earn your place." He pointed to the knife. Ethan's heart pounded. He realized this wasn't a test of strength. It was a choice. Kill a man or become the next victim. He stared at the blade. Cold metal. One wrong move, and his life would never be the same. King smiled again, calm, confident. "Everybody pays for protection here. Some pay with money. Some pay with blood." Ethan didn't answer, but in that moment he understood something. Darren hadn't killed Reggie. King was cleaning up his own mess, and Ethan had just been invited to join the cleanup crew. The knife sat on the table, cold, silver, and heavy with meaning. Ethan stared at it, his mind racing faster than his heartbeat.
In that moment, time didn't exist, only fear, and the choice that could change everything. King's men stood by the door, silent, waiting. King leaned in close. His voice was calm, almost kind. "You're new, Cole. I get it. You want to keep your head down. But this place don't let you hide. Either you bleed for someone, or someone bleeds for you." Ethan said nothing. He looked at King's eyes, dark, unblinking, calculating. He saw something behind them. Not rage, not hate, just control. Finally, Ethan took a deep breath. He picked up the knife. The metal burned cold against his skin. He didn't know if it was fear or fate. "Who?" Ethan asked quietly. King smiled. "Doesn't matter. You'll get a name when it's time. For now, keep it close. Prove I can trust you." He patted Ethan's shoulder, almost like a friend. Then he turned and walked out, leaving the echo of his boots behind. That night, Ethan didn't sleep. He sat on his bunk, the knife hidden under his mattress. Every creak, every whisper from the hallway felt like a threat. Mikey sat across from him, whispering, "You're in deep now, man. King doesn't test people unless he needs them. He's setting you up." Ethan knew he was right, but what could he do? Go to the guards? In Red Stone, that was suicide. They worked for the same system, and sometimes for the same man. By morning, things got worse. Darren, the man accused of Murray's murder, was found dead in solitary. Official report: suicide. But Ethan had heard the rumors. Nobody kills themselves in Red Stone. They get helped. It hit him like a punch to the gut. Darren had been framed and now silenced. Ethan realized King wasn't cleaning up a mess. He was sending a message, and Ethan was the next piece on the board. He looked around his cell. The walls, the bars, the flickering lights, everything felt like it was closing in. He had two options now: play King's game or find a way to break it. He whispered to himself, "I didn't come here to die like the rest of them." But in Red Stone, nobody walks away clean. The morning after Darren's suicide, the air in Red Stone changed. It wasn't fear anymore, it was paranoia. Every whisper, every glance carried a question: who's next? Ethan tried to keep quiet, but inside his thoughts were screaming. He couldn't shake the image of Darren's body, and King's calm voice saying, "Everybody pays for protection." Something didn't add up. That day in the yard, Ethan found Mikey sitting alone, carving lines into the concrete with a nail. He sat beside him and whispered, "Tell me about Reggie." Mikey froze. "You don't want that story, man." "I need it," Ethan said. "I need the truth." Mikey looked around, then leaned closer. "Reggie wasn't killed because he crossed King. He was killed because he knew something." "Knew what?" "That the guards and King, they had a deal." Ethan's heart sank. A deal. Between the inmates and the very people meant to control them. Mikey continued, "They run a trade. Phones, drugs, anything you can imagine. Guards look the other way, and King keeps the block under control. Everybody gets paid, one way or another." That night, Ethan couldn't eat. He thought about the knife under his mattress, the note from King, Darren's body, Reggie's murder. It was all connected, and the deeper he looked, the more dangerous it became. The next morning, a guard named Stevens stopped by Ethan's cell. Big guy, heavy build, eyes too calm. "Cole," he said, "walk with me." They walked down the hall, past the cameras, past the cells, into a small storage room. Doors shut behind them. "You've been asking questions," Stephen said quietly. "That's not smart here." Ethan tried to stay calm, just trying to survive. "Good," Stephen said, smiling faintly. "Then keep it that way." He handed Ethan a folded piece of paper. "King says you're in. Do your job and you'll be safe." When Stevens left, Ethan opened the note. One word was written on it: "Tonight," and under it, a cell number. It wasn't a warning, it was an assignment. Ethan realized this was it. If he followed King's order, he'd become just another part of the system. If he refused, he'd be next to hang in solitary. Either way, Red Stone was watching, and the walls were getting closer. That night came faster than Ethan expected. The note sat in his hand. One word, one number. He read it again and again. Cell 23. And beneath it, midnight. Mikey tried to stop him. "You don't have to do this, man. Just wait it out." "You know what happens if I don't," Ethan whispered. Mikey shook his head. "Yeah, you end up like Darren." The clock hit 12. Ethan slipped out of his cell, silent as breath. He moved through the dim corridor, the hum of flickering lights guiding him. His heart pounded in his ears. He felt the cold handle of the knife against his waist. Every step echoed louder than the last. When he reached cell 23, he stopped. Through the bars, he saw a man sitting on his bunk, head down, hands shaking. He didn't know him, didn't even know his name. He whispered, "You know why I'm here?" The man looked up, terrified. "Please, I didn't say nothing, I swear." Ethan froze. Something in that voice, it wasn't guilt. It was truth. He saw fear, not deception. He lowered the knife, breathing hard. His hands trembled. He couldn't do it. He wouldn't. Suddenly, footsteps, guards shouting down the corridor. Ethan panicked, shoved the knife behind the toilet tank, and backed away. A flashlight hit his face. "Cole, what the hell are you doing out of your cell?" Before he could answer, another voice echoed from behind the guards. Slow, confident, dangerous. "King." He stepped out of the shadows, smiling. "Relax, officer. Cole was just delivering a message for me." The guard hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. Get him back to his block." As they walked, King whispered close to Ethan's ear, "You didn't finish the job." Ethan's voice was low. He didn't deserve it. King smiled, cold and amused. "Deserve's got nothing to do with it, kid. You're in the system now. And in this system, mercy gets you pilled." Back in his cell, Ethan sat in silence. He'd crossed a line, not by killing, but by refusing. He knew what that meant. Tomorrow, everyone would know, and Red Stone would make him pay for it. The next morning, Red Stone was louder than usual. Voices echoed through the halls, angry, sharp, restless. The air felt electric, like the storm before lightning hits. Ethan knew why. Word had spread. He didn't do what King told him to, and in a place like Red Stone, that kind of rumor could kill you before the truth ever did. At breakfast, men stepped aside when he walked in. Some wouldn't look at him. Others did, with that slow, dangerous stare. Whispers followed him down the line. "That's the guy who said no to King. Dead man walking." Mikey sat beside him, his voice barely above a whisper. "You've got maybe a day before they make a move. You gotta find protection." "From who?" Ethan muttered. "The guards? The gangs? King?" Mikey shook his head. "From everyone." Later that afternoon, 2 guards came to his cell. Cole, let's go. Warden wants you. They walked him through corridors he'd never seen before, past locked doors and broken lights, the kind of hallways where nobody asked questions. The warden's office was quiet. Too quiet. Warden Harris sat behind his desk, flipping through a folder with Ethan's name on it. He didn't look angry. He looked curious. "You've been busy, Cole," the warden said calmly. "Talking to the wrong people, asking the wrong questions." Ethan stayed silent. "You think you're a hero? You think this place runs on justice?" He leaned forward. "It runs on order. King keeps that order. You interfere, you're done." Ethan finally spoke. "So you're working with him?" Harris smiled faintly. "Working with him? No, but I let him keep the peace, because peace keeps the headlines quiet." He slid a piece of paper across the desk. A transfer order. "Protective custody," Harris said. "For your safety." But Ethan could see it in his eyes. This wasn't protection. It was a death sentence. He folded the paper slowly and said, "I'll take my chances in Block 5. The warden stared at him for a long moment, then said quietly, "Don't say I didn't warn you." That night, Ethan lay awake in his bunk. Every sound outside his cell made him flinch. Footsteps, keys, whispers. He knew King wouldn't wait long. He'd send someone to finish what Ethan refused to start. Somewhere down the corridor, a voice hissed through the dark, "You should have done what you were told, Cole." And then, silence. Night fell over Red Stone like a shadow that never lifted. The lights flickered, the halls went silent, and Ethan could feel it. Something was coming. He lay awake, eyes fixed on the ceiling. Every sound made his heart race. The hum of the lights, the rattle of the pipes, and somewhere in the distance, the soft shuffle of footsteps. Then it happened. The lock on his cell door clicked open, slowly, quietly. Too quiet. Someone had a key. Ethan sat up. The metal door creaked, and 3 silhouettes stepped inside, faces covered, movements sharp and certain. One of them whispered, "Warden sends his regards." Before Ethan could move, a blade flashed in the dark. He ducked. The knife missed his throat by inches. He threw himself backward, crashing into the wall, pain shooting through his shoulder. The second man lunged. Ethan grabbed his arm, twisted, and the knife clattered to the floor. For a moment, it was pure chaos. Shouts, fists, blood, metal. He didn't think. He just survived. He swung the knife blindly. It hit flesh. A grunt, a fall, then silence. When the lights flickered back on, 2 men were on the floor. The third was gone. Ethan's hands were shaking, covered in blood, some of it his, most of it not. Guards rushed in, batons drawn. Ethan tried to speak. "They tried to kill me!" But the guards didn't look surprised. They didn't even ask questions. They just looked at each other. And one said, "He's breathing. Put him in solitary." Ethan shouted as they dragged him away. "They came for me! Check the cameras!" But the cameras, of course, weren't working that night. They never worked when they needed to. Hours later, inside solitary, Ethan sat on the cold concrete floor, bleeding, exhausted, furious. Through the small vent above him, a voice whispered, low, calm, almost familiar, "You did good, Cole." It was King. "Now you understand. Around here, everyone gets their hands dirty, even the ones who think they're clean." Ethan pressed his head against the wall, breathing hard. He finally realized what Red Stone really was. Not a prison, a business. And he had just become part of its profit. Days turned into weeks inside solitary. No sunlight, no voices, only time. And time was the cruelest punishment of all. Ethan replayed everything in his mind. Reggie's death, Darren's suicide, the guards, King, the warden. There was a pattern, but he couldn't see it clearly, until the day a guard slipped something under his door. A folded scrap of paper, 4 words written in shaky handwriting. Reggie had the files. Ethan stared at it, confused. Files? What files? He thought of Mikey. Maybe he knew. But how could he reach him from solitary? Unless... That night, Ethan tried the vent again. He whispered, "Mikey, you out there?" No answer. Then, faintly, a reply. "Yeah, I hear you. What happened?" Ethan told him about the note. Reggie had files, something that got him killed. Mikey hesitated. Reggie worked laundry duty. That's where they move stuff in and out. Not just drugs, but papers too. He said he found something in the guard's locker room, some kind of list. List of what? Ethan asked. Names, Mikey said. Inmates who never existed, ghost transfers, dead men still getting paid for. Ethan's stomach twisted. A prison payroll scam. Names of fake prisoners the warden was billing the state for. Millions, stolen right under everyone's nose. And Reggie had found out. That's why he died. Not because of a fight, not because of King, because he had proof. Ethan whispered, "Where are the files now?" Mikey said, "Hidden. Laundry room. Vent shaft behind machine 4. But listen, they're watching that place." Ethan's mind raced. He had to get out of solitary, not just to save himself, but to expose what was happening inside Red Stone. 2 nights later, the cell door opened. A guard stepped in, Stevens, same guard who handed him the note weeks ago. He looked around, then said quietly, "You're being released. Orders from above." Ethan frowned. Above who? Stevens didn't answer. He just smirked. "You should have stayed quiet, Cole. Now you're part of the story." Ethan's heart pounded. If they were letting him out now, it wasn't mercy. It was strategy. He was bait. Still, he had no choice. He walked out into the light for the first time in weeks, his eyes burning, and saw Mikey waiting near the laundry room. Mikey's face was pale. He whispered, "They know, Ethan. Somebody talked." Before Ethan could respond, the sirens blared. Guards ran past them, shouting. And over the chaos, a voice boomed through the speakers. "Lockdown. Repeat. Full lockdown." Ethan looked at Mikey. Both knew it. This was it. The truth was about to cost them everything.
The sirens screamed through Redstone like a storm. Guards ran, doors slammed, and somewhere deep inside, the truth was fighting to survive. Ethan and Mikey ducked behind a stack of laundry carts. The vents rattled above them, and shouts echoed down the hallway. Mikey whispered, "They're coming, man. You sure about this?" Ethan nodded. "If we don't do it now, no one ever will." They crawled toward the back wall. Machine number 4. Ethan tore open the vent cover with his hands, metal slicing into his skin. Inside was a small folder wrapped in plastic. Yellowed papers, old printouts, and 1 flash drive. Mikey stared. "You found it." Ethan opened the folder. Rows of names, ID numbers, fake prisoner records, dead men still collecting paychecks, money funneled through shell companies, all signed by Warden Harris. Suddenly, footsteps, heavy boots, voices closing in. Mikey grabbed Ethan's arm. "We gotta go." They ran through the corridor, alarms still blaring, guards shouting behind them,
flashlights cutting through the dark. They burst into the yard, rain pounded the ground, thunder rolling across the sky. The floodlights turned the yard into a white cage, and standing at the gate, Warden Harris flanked by 2 guards, calm, smiling. "It's over, Cole. You can't win." Ethan held up the folder. "This is everything, Harris. Every name, every fake transfer, every lie. You kill me now, the story dies. But if you let me walk out that gate, the world will know what you did." The warden's smile didn't fade. "You think anyone believes a convict over a warden?" He nodded to his men. They raised their weapons. Mikey stepped forward, shouting, "You'll have to shoot both of us." A shot rang out. Mikey fell. Ethan dropped to his knees beside him, blood soaking through his shirt. Mikey whispered, "Don't let them bury it, man. Promise me." Ethan's vision blurred, but then, in the chaos, he saw flashing lights beyond the gate. Police cruisers, news vans. Someone had tipped them off. Harris turned, stunned. The gates burst open as federal agents stormed the yard. "Step away from him, hands up." Ethan dropped the folder at their feet. He had done it. He'd gotten the truth out, just in time. Weeks later, Ethan sat in a courtroom, shackled, pale but alive. Harris and several guards were led past him in handcuffs. King was also gone, transferred to federal custody. The empire had fallen. When the judge asked him if he had anything to say, Ethan simply whispered, "I wasn't innocent when I came here, but I wasn't guilty of what they became." The world finally saw what Red Stone really was, not just a prison, but a machine built on silence, money, and fear. And as the news spread across America, one line echoed in every headline. Whistleblower inmate exposes corruption inside Arizona Penitentiary. Ethan Cole had lost everything, but in the end, he had given the truth a voice.